Listener discretion is advised.
That did feel good. Felt right.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That we do.
Chugging
folks.
today.
Yeah. I'm Kenyan. Yet again, someone couldn't understand me here in Louisville because of my Minnesotan accent.
Amazing.
She was like, "What's that?"
You're from another land.
Are you a witch?
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm Lucy, definitely a witch. You do you, though.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm Amanda. And I'm menstruating. So, you know.
You're a witch.
So I'm definitely,
Yeah.
I'm a red witch right now. A sloppy red witch.
Oh, God. Okay.
Hey, all right.
It's not sloppy. I have a tampon in.
Okay.
Okay.
What's going on here?
So we're getting all of our feels out. We had a lot of
Everything's
technical
fine.
difficulties. It's fine. Okay.
We're good.
So we have a very special fan pick this week brought to you by Jency Reardon.
And we will get to why it's so special.
Yes, Jency.
Don't give it away.
I won't,
yet.
but
Yeah.
we will get to it with Amanda's case.
We actually interview her live from prison. Just kidding. I wish. That's on my bucket list.
We've gotten email offers from real creeps.
I know, but that guy was weird, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
No, I didn't want to
No.
either. I didn't want to give
I
him
didn't
a
want
platform.
to.
That is Jency. We're sorry to sully your name. As far as we know, you're not in prison.
I'm sure she's fine.
But also, do you remember before the Houston show? One of our
Yes.
shows when I kept getting phone calls from like,
from a
will you
penitentiary.
accept this call from blah, blah, blah penitentiary?
Yes,
And at first
we were
I
in
was
the
like,
dressing
no.
room.
And then he kept calling.
And then
so
we were like,
I
yes.
answered.
Answer it. Like the three of us holding hands, supporting you.
He had the wrong number.
Yeah.
And he was really
And
nice.
he was very sweet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
forgot
Yeah.
his name, but we chatted for
Free,
like a
what's his
couple
name?
minutes.
Yeah. It was great.
I know you're on borrowed time right now, but I'm just gonna chat you up because I'm a Midwestern stranger. Want me to take a photo of you?
Want one all together?
Do you want one all together?
The only hospitable act that Lucy does, and she does it fucking everywhere, even if we're running like an hour behind at the airport in security.
It's the only hospitable
All
act.
three of you together? Well, not your only hospitable
Creating
act.
memories for other people.
If a kindly white woman has offered to take your group photo,
It was like
it
Lucy.
was like Lucy.
I should amend this. It's not the only hospitable thing you do. It's the only like extroverted hospitable thing you do.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
like eager to approach a group trying to take you. It's like a radar.
Yeah.
You find them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can like smell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah. Kenyon, remember when we were in Bemidji and we were by the Paul Bunyan? Yes. We were by the Paul Bunyan and there was that family trying to...
Yes.
And I was like, do you want one all together? And then they had a really nice camera. They were clearly like out of towners. And I like got down on the ground so I could get like Paul Bunyan in their photo from like the perspective. And one of the women in the group just goes, "Oh my God, she's on the ground." It's like, I'm here
Sir.
to cater to your family's memories. What can I say?
You're welcome. You hired me for a half day.
Right. I'll invoice you later.
Okay, anyway.
What the fuck
Wouldn't
are
it
we
be funny
doing?
to find out that Lucy actually has been invoicing all of these unsuspecting groups this whole time?
I did such a good job.
She's
They're
raking
obligated.
it in.
They're like, I don't know. We paid it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. None of this is...
Oh, wait, what's even the topic?
yeah, okay.
Group photo crimes.
I'm so sorry, Jency.
All right, Jency's very special fan pick is Crimes Solved by America's Most Wanted, the television show.
Such a show.
Yeah.
Banger show.
And actually solved a lot of crimes. I'm sure we will get to it.
We'll get to it.
All right.
Thank God.
Well, let's get first to the wine crime pairing
get
because
to it.
Mama needs it.
Yeah.
Yep. Just going to betwixt this
Got a little
between
sneak peek myself. I couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Took us
That's
so
fair.
fucking long to get going.
Hard.
I get it.
I love
I just
my
sat here
giant
staring
wine
at
glass.
this prepped bottle.
Look at it.
Unable to pop it.
All right, Amanda
Gorgeous.
needs her juice.
Okay, so yes, the wine crime pairing. Here we go. Today we are drinking Winc Wine Club's Far and Wide Touriga Nacional. Because, like, duh. Could not be more perfect for an America's Most Wanted.
You can run far, you can go wide, but you will be caught.
Yep, they're searching far and wide. And a quick reminder that Winc Wine Club is an online wine club that delivers wine to your door or your local Walgreens or wherever you choose to have
FedEx
it
pickup
delivered.
location.
It's amazing. They have an ever-changing and updating inventory. And if you weren't already a member, actually now is a really fun time to join because A, the holidays are right around the corner, people, and it's not going to be the same as it was last year. You're not going to have a lot of people around you, so you may as well have a lot of wine around you.
Replace your loved ones with alcohol.
Yeah.
Just set
Put
them up
googly
around the
eyes
table.
on all the bottles.
Yeah.
Yes, and put them at the table.
Sing carols.
Give
This
each
isn't
one
hard,
a stocking.
people. And a scarf.
Do a Secret Santa gift exchange.
And then you end up drinking all of them. I see no notes on this. And they actually just added a bunch of new inventory that I hadn't seen before. Like, this is one of the biggest inventory overloads that I've seen since being a member, which we've now been, all of us have been members for like 3 years now. It's amazing. You get member pricing and member recommendations, which is so great. And if it's your first time ordering from Winc, you can get $20 off your first box at trywinc.com/gals. That's trywinc.com/gals. So check it out. You can also order a la carte. It makes an amazing gift. Like if you order enough wine, you get like credits to send somebody a free box. Like it's such a cool, awesome, user experience. The website's gorgeous. Their customer service is amazing.
It's also, I'd like to add, cider season.
Yes,
Yeah.
they've got ciders.
Yeah, they
like
do.
sparkling
So good.
ciders. Delicious. So from Winc, the Far and Wide explores single varietals from the far reaches of the globe, like Touriga Nacional, which is Portugal's most revered indigenous red grape. Originally native to northern Portugal, Touriga Nacional is a small, thick-skinned grape traditionally used in the production of port wines. And yes, we have had this wine before, but it was a different vintage. So some of this might sound repetitive because we've kind of talked about this varietal. However, it makes a strong case for its increasing use to make dry red wines, and this bottle helps showcase why. Grown in the Lisbon area, the grapes for this wine saw aging in stainless steel, which is great. Really doesn't alter the natural flavor of the grape. This results in an aromatic red that shows red fruits, herbs, and spice. With a lighter bodied profile, it can be served slightly chilled. Which right now in Minnesota, it's like 45 degrees. So I just had this sitting out on my bar and it's like a nice, it's a little over or under room temperature. So I'm excited about that. It makes it a great summer into fall red to pair with grilled meat. So this is like a really good transitional red wine for the season.
Yeah, it's like you need a sweater in the morning and you need a port wine in the evening. A Touriga Nacional.
Exactly.
To keep warm.
Technically, this is not a port, but yes. So it's fruit forward with an earthy balance and tasting notes of caramel, mushroom, raspberry, and red cherry. This is a medium-bodied wine with a dry finish that clocks in at a nice high 13.8% ABV, which works really well since we are struggling and doing a drunk dive after this.
Yes.
So if you want to hear that and see this episode on video, you got to go head to our Patreon and you can give at any level to get those perks.
If you want to see our dirty hair and no makeup except for a little lipstick.
My hair is clean, but I am not wearing makeup.
I showered and applied makeup today.
Good for you.
I applied lipstick today.
Good job. Somebody tries. Okay, are we ready to pop?
Yep.
Yes.
Using our nice pop wine key from wineandcrimepodcast.bigcartel.com. Just crushing all these shout outs. Here we go. Eventually.
Oh, that was a really good pop. Nice.
That was a really good one.
Yeah.
Oh,
all
this
right, good.
wine's
That's
gorgeous.
making
It's
up
nice
for
and
a lot of technical
inky.
difficulties.
All right. Cheers, my dears.
Cheers.
Ooh.
I'm very excited for your drunk dive after this episode. And I plan to get after it.
Y'all.
Yeah.
You do not even, like, if you are not a patron, this drunk dive is slappy bonks. That's all I gotta say.
That was the new one.
You will be missing out.
It's
if you
slappy
do not
bananas.
Peep this
Slappy
time.
bananas.
Slappy bananas.
Sloppy bananas.
Sloppy bananas.
Okay.
It's a bonanza of sloppy bananas.
Yuck.
All right.
I don't know why I
Anyway.
said sloppy bananas, but it works.
Sloppy bananas.
I don't know, but I like it. It works.
Slap at a base. Sloppy bananas.
That it's not even like that movie is that good, but that part.
No, that movie is really funny. I love that movie.
Okay.
Check you later,
Lucy's taste in
Jobin.
comedies always seems questionable to me.
I love that film.
Although you finally did watch Ghost Ship, so I'm very happy about that.
Ghost Ship. I'm on the Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
I'm on board. All aboard the Ghost Ship.
I don't know
Specifically
what
for the
is.
first 6 minutes, and then
that's
like
what I said.
an hour and 20 minutes in, there's like 2 5-minute scenes that are worth
That are
it.
actually good.
And it's
Yep.
just flaming trash the rest
Yep.
of the way, but
90s
it's
garbage.
kind of incredible.
I don't
Pioneered
know what that
by
is.
Julietta Margulies.
Yes.
You need to watch Ghost Ship, Kenyon.
Who was-
You will.
I watched Homeward
Hate
Bound
love it.
yesterday
Yeah, you did.
by myself
Shadow.
in the afternoon at home.
It was like 3 p.m. and we hadn't heard from her in a while, and just this one text. Homeward Bound holds up.
And one of the kitties that I'm kitty
like,
sitting
yeah.
looks just like Sassy.
she does.
Really does.
Just like Sassy.
Okay, all right. We're moving on. Lucy, what is our background in psych? Probably not psych, maybe. For America's Most Wanted.
You know, before I get to that, I just really want to reiterate how annoying it is that the climate played no role in Ghost Ship. They're in
Right.
the Arctic. They're in tank tops. They're swimming around. This bitch was in 2 explosions. She's unscathed.
Not even a singed eyebrow.
Anyway, all right.
And in a tank top the entire time.
Wet and in a tank top
Well,
in the
classic.
Arctic.
In the Arctic.
Classic.
Yeah.
What's the nip situation?
No nip.
Yeah, no. Soft.
What?
Padded.
Yeah.
Padded.
Really bad.
This was like that episode of Friends where Jennifer Aniston popularized the nipple bra.
Yeah.
Pre-Tomb Raider,
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Yep.
Well, this was 2002, I believe.
Oh,
Ghost
then that's,
Ship.
I think.
Definitely already had Tomb Raider then.
And we would
And Friends.
And probably that episode of Friends.
You know, it probably
so never
was in
mind.
Juliana Margulies' contract to not do the nip.
No nip.
Get it, girl.
And there was plenty of nip from the Ghost singer, if you know what I mean. The nude.
Whatever flips your nip. Yeah.
Okay. So, once again, passing the baton.
We should do Ghost Ship crimes.
Honestly, let's just do a whole episode talking about Ghost Ship.
The whole movie is a crime.
Yeah. It fits.
I don't know what's happening.
Moving on.
You'll have to watch Ghost Ship in preparation for that episode.
It's available for rent on Amazon for $2.99. Best $2.99 I've ever spent. Here we go.
Worth it.
America's Most Wanted is an American reality legal TV program produced.
Is an American ghost ship located in the American Arctic.
Produced by 20th Television, which ran from 1988 to 2012. At the time of its cancellation by Fox to be replaced by Ghost Ship, just kidding.
Ghost Ship running on a loop.
Aside from Ghost
subscribe to
Ship
that
on a
channel.
loop, America's Most Wanted was the longest running program in the network's history at 25 seasons.
Why would they have
Wow.
ever canceled it, is my question.
We'll get to it. So that record of 25 seasons has been since surpassed by The Simpsons, which who watches new episodes of The Simpsons?
Wait,
lot
they're
of
still
people.
creating new episodes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the classics are the classics. I used to watch The Simpsons religiously, but are they really churning out like good content anymore?
I don't know.
Have Bart and Lisa grown at all?
No, it's a cartoon. And there's a new Marge voice, and it's distracting.
Oh,
in my
really?
opinion.
See, this just, okay.
Let
Well,
it
whatever.
go.
Why would you let go of your biggest cash cow?
It's true. It's a huge cash cow. After leaving Fox, the program moved over to Lifetime for about a year, but due to low ratings plus all of the royalties it still had to pay to Fox because Fox still held the trademark and the copyright. The show eventually met its end in March 2013.
Well, that's
but still
a crying
from
shame.
88 to 2013.
That's wild.
How many years is that?
There's no way to know.
How old were we in 2012?
There's no
There
way
is
to
still no way to
simulate it.
know.
25? I'm totally
Well,
guessing.
if it was on for 25 seasons, that
88
would be
to okay, 12 plus 13 is what? 25.
so 25 years.
Oh my God.
What? Did you get it right?
I did it in my head. Yeah.
Oh my God. She used her calculator.
I
Don't
did it.
buy it.
There's video.
Saw it.
There's video, but where were
There's
your
a
hands?
lot cut out of the frame.
Show us your hands, mathematician.
Tell us what you did. Show us your abacus.
Your abacus. Okay, so the show itself is hosted by John Walsh, and we'll get to John Walsh.
Yeah, we will.
And features reenactments of dangerous fugitives portrayed by actors with on-camera interviews and voiceover narration throughout.
It is dramatique.
It's the same recipe as any other
Forensic Files.
Forensic Files, Unsolved Mysteries, blah, blah, blah. It's the same shit. So each episode implored its viewers to call a toll-free hotline with any information about the whereabouts of the featured fugitive.
I was always so desperate to
see one of the fugitives.
have some,
to call the
to
number.
have something to add.
Yeah. same.
Never
Same.
did.
Never. Mm-mm. So the premise became watch television, catch criminals,
Oh, wow.
which is like very American.
Yep.
I want to save the world. I want to protect my kin, but I'll do
I'm
it
a
by watching
patriot.
TV on my couch.
Yeah. I don't want to leave my TV room. Which I get.
also
my
one of
television
their-
is my
Yeah.
longest and most successful relationship.
Absolutely. And
So
also,
no shade here.
America's Most Wanted kind of went through reiterations, and one of them was America's Most Wanted, America Fights Back.
Oh, my God.
You can tell what they're...
Really
who they were
cashing in
going
on
for.
a post 9/11
Yeah,
vibe.
really.
8-year-old me after school.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the tactic worked. Within 4 days of the first broadcast, a top 10 FBI most wanted fugitive named David James Roberts was captured as a direct result of the TV show.
Yep.
Wow.
And he, just FYI, was a convicted killer who had recently dug his way out of prison with a small axe.
Hot. I'm going to paint my nails, by the way.
Pressure and time. Ooh, what color?
This is me being an Instagram,
Influencer.
what are they called? I almost said enthusiast.
Did Kenyon say fluencer?
Fluencer.
I was joking.
Oh.
I'm
I'm
just,
just holding up my bottle of nail polish for
LA Girls Color Pop Silver Sparkle.
Ooh, I got a cherry red, jungle red.
I'm just going to drink.
Yeah.
I'm doing both.
On May 2nd, 2008, the show announced its 1,000th capture.
Not episode.
Capture?
Capture.
We had 1,000
Wow.
cases to choose from. Wow.
Well, there's more than one fugitive per episode.
That's
normally.
true. They do these little like snippets,
Yeah.
like little vignettes.
They also did, throughout its run, go from a 60-minute episode to 30 minutes to 60 to 30 and blah, 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 blah. Zip, zap, zip, zap.
Do you have any idea the physical and emotional toll 3 episodes of America's Most Wanted has on a person?
And they had just like spin-offs and whatever.
Yeah.
So, yes. Under the umbrella of AM Dub, 1,000 captures by May 2008.
That's cool.
Good Lord. AM dub.
AM Dub. Many of these fugitives had connections outside of the U.S. or didn't have anything to do with the U.S. at all. They were just like Interpol, like, you know,
Sure.
international people of mystery. After the first international capture in 1989 in Nova Scotia, so this was only the year after
years.
this.
Yeah.
The year
Did
after.
they flew their Learjet up to Nova Scotia
To see the
a
total
eclipse of the sun?
You're so vain.
You're so vain.
Learjet. I didn't know what the lyrics were.
Oh my word.
I don't know what I thought it was.
Well, we just witnessed a very epic moment, folks.
I think I thought it was cute shit. Well, I flew my cute shit up to Nova Scotia. Anyway, I'm going to listen to that song later because we don't have time. Yes, you just witnessed, for all of you watching on video, that was my brain melting out of my ears.
Wow.
Silence. Extended silence. Learjet.
Bathroom on the right.
I thought the call was dropped. I was like, hello?
The most important thing.
But most importantly, silence.
Okay. All right. So after the first international capture, John Walsh was like, oh, fuck, this is really working.
Yeah.
So
I have a career now.
So the show broadened its scope to report on criminals all over the world.
Didn't he experience some family tragedy?
You will get to it.
Oh, okay, good.
We will get to it. So here's a little background on America's Most Wanted, the television show. The concept came from 2 European programs. Germany's
Ich habe eine Klaubfuß.
yes,
Live.
Aktenzeichen XY ... Ungelost.
Super lost.
Which
Super
actually is file reference XY ... Unsolved.
Ungelost.
Super lost.
Ungelost is unsolved.
Achtenzeichen. Okay.
Ungelost. There's supposed to be an umlaut over that O.
XY.
That's French. Which first aired in 1967. We're moving on. And also the British show Crime Watch, which first aired in 1984. And CBS, over here stateside, had aired a similar show in the U.S. called Wanted in 1955. So there was a precedence for all of these dragnet shows.
Wow.
In the summer of 1987, which I might note was a great summer.
Great vintage.
Great vintage. Fox executive Stephen Chow and executive producer Michael Linder conceptualized this updated show, and the search began for the perfect host.
And they
Here
found
we
him.
go.
Among those considered for the job were former police officer and best-selling author Joseph Wambaugh.
Wamba. Is he the one
Wambaugh.
who cracked that arsonist case?
Yeah, he did. He wrote the book
Yeah.
about the pillow pyro.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. His name sounded super familiar, but I couldn't.
Wham ball.
Wamba. That was like episode 2.
Yup.
But he refused it because he did not think that this nationwide dragnet concept would work in the United
Idiot.
States.
Wrong.
I'll just keep writing books, I guess.
Well, he probably
Boring.
was justifiably under the impression that we were all too fucking lazy to actually
call.
do anything
Well, and it
about
was
it.
definitely like a new television genre concept.
untested.
Stateside. Yeah,
It
so it
was
was untested,
yeah.
exactly.
Also considered were former Virginia Governor Chuck Robb, former Oklahoma Virginia,
Whatever. Move on.
former Virginia Governor Chuck Robb, former Oklahoma Governor Bob Curry, and recently resigned U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani. Can you imagine?
I mean, maybe this would have kept him from going completely off his
Going
rocker,
completely
but
rogue.
I
Maybe
couldn't
not.
stare into that man's eyes week after week.
they're too
A lot of
vacant.
governors to be considered, which is odd to me.
Odd,
Like, you
yeah.
think they would just put out a call for someone with a great voice, like a movie trailer voice.
Like a wine and crime gal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We're
I
available.
mean, if you're trying
Call
to do if you're trying to do like weekly calls to action to the American people, they probably were looking for like
someone with
a
credibility.
somewhat well-known, like
Recognizable.
trusted, recognizable American face who'd had like some traceable large amount of responsibility.
was
Yeah.
was vetted.
But in the end, they decided that a politician was not the way to go, especially like an active one. Marine Corps Commander P.X. Kelly, journalist
P90X,
journalists Linda Ellerby and Bob fucking Woodward
Whoa.
were also considered, as well as
Oh, good. At least one woman made the short list.
two, as well as victims
sorry.
advocate Teresa Saldana were also potential candidates, but none of them quite fit.
And
Slash,
Bob Woodward
they said no.
had more important work to do.
Thank God Bob Woodward did not get sucked into this shit.
He had woodwork to do.
Beautiful craftsmanship. Enter John Walsh.
Hello.
Born in
Stage left.
Sage left. Born in 1945 in Auburn, New York, Walsh attended Our Lady of Mount Carmel High School, graduating in 1963. In 1971, he married Reve Drew while attending the University of Buffalo, graduating with a BA in history. The Walshes settled in South Florida, where he became involved with building high-end luxury hotels.
What a life.
This next segment is from Wikipedia, and trigger warning because it's brutal, and I wasn't aware of all the details before. It's really sad.
I don't think I know all the details, but I know some of it.
Here we go. In the summer of 1981, John Walsh, was an official with Paradise Island Hotel and Casino in the Bahamas and worked in Hollywood, Florida. We've been there.
Yeah.
That's where Barbie Joe's tchotchkes was or whatever.
Home of gator bites.
Yes. He and his wife, Reve, had a 6-year-old son named Adam. On July 27th, 1981, Adam was abducted from a Sears department store at the then-named Hollywood Mall across from the Hollywood police station. Reve had left Adam in the toy department at a model video game console at the Sears while she looked for a lamp.
Which is like such a normal thing to do. That should be safe to do.
There is a photo on the drive, which will be on the blog, of the video game console, which I just thought was super eerie. Like it was crime scene photos.
Oh, yeah. But like,
I don't know, that
these
just really
still
brought it home
exist,
for me.
Like at Target. You can test out Animal Crossing before you buy it.
And he was so little.
He was 6.
Such a little
When she
toothless
returned
peanut.
several minutes later, Adam was missing. Police records in Adam's case, which were released in 1996, show that a 17-year-old security guard instructed 4 boys to leave the department store, and Adam has been thought to be one of them. So the 17-year-old security guard was just like, you kids are loitering.
Get out.
You don't have money to spend here. Leave.
To a 6-year-old.
Yeah, you wouldn't immediately be like, let's find your mother.
Well, nowadays you would.
Nowadays you would, but I don't know. And he might have just kind of been caught
that
up.
long ago.
He might have been caught up, like hanging out with these older boys, and the security guard was like, all of you get out.
Yeah,
you
maybe
know.
the older boys were like, move over, kid, and they were playing the video game, and he was watching them, and then the security guard told them to leave, and so he just kind of followed because he's 6.
Maybe.
He's 6. Anything could have happened. It's not like they had security footage then. Okay, so 16 days after the abduction, his severed head was found in a drainage canal 120 miles away from his home, and the rest of his body was never found.
So we actually
Holy
don't know.
shit.
We don't know if he was abducted inside the store or right outside the store.
We no.
Or if you wandered around because he was kicked out, side of the road, someone picks him up. Like, there's so many things that could have happened.
Tragic lack of details. I didn't go super into this case because A, I didn't know if one of you two was going to, and B, it's a whole case. It's a whole fucking thing.
Right.
So many names had been mentioned in connection to the case since the murder, but detectives kept returning to that of serial killer Otis Toole. Could be Otis, but I think it's Otis. Otis Toole.
I've heard both. I think it's Otis, but I don't know.
I'm going to go with Otis. I don't really give a shit about honoring this man's first name.
Yeah.
Right, by getting his fucking name right.
This tool.
Yeah. John Walsh had long said that he believed that Toole, who was a drifter, which of course is not reason enough to suspect him of a crime, but
still
was responsible for the crime, saying investigators found a pair of green shorts and a sandal similar to what Adam was wearing at Toole. So they found these things at Toole's home in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, wow.
In January 2007, deceased serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer fell under suspicion for the murder of Adam.
Oh, shit. This kid would have been a little too young for Jeffrey Dahmer.
Also,
though.
like, was he
Not
in
his MO.
Florida at that time?
I
I don't
think
think
so.
so.
I don't
I think
think.
he was still in the Midwest.
Yeah. Who knows? This speculation was quickly discounted by Walsh in an America's Most Wanted statement on February 6, 2007.
And yeah, Dahmer would have kept, not to be like disgusting about it, but Dahmer would have like kept the remains.
Well, the body was never found, just the head.
Oh, right.
So
right.
that's possible. But Dahmer would
have kept the
more
head.
into like, well, and Dahmer also engaged in sexual activity with most of his victims. That's like how he lured
Yeah,
them
they
in.
were like
so
in their
like little
late
children,
teens and 20s.
right? A 6-year-old is
6-year-old,
not.
I don't think would fall into
That
that.
doesn't fit with his MO
Right.
No.
at all.
Right.
We just solved it.
Well,
Yeah.
I also think so that speculation was sort of around 2007, mid 2000s, when like there seemed to be a resurgence in interest in serial killers like Jeffrey
Right.
Dahmer.
Sure.
And people
So
like
maybe
to
that was just
tie them all together.
Yeah, it might have just been a simple thing, whatever.
A podcast having a conversation that was way off base.
Yeah, exactly. What a tragedy.
Yeah.
Toole, the prime suspect in Adam's abduction and murder, died in prison in 1996 while serving a life sentence for other crimes. The Hollywood Police Department officially identified him as Adam's killer on December 16th, 2008, and the case was considered closed. There's a photo on the drive of, several photos on the drive of John and his wife and like them kind of reacting to things in court. And there's also one photo of like the day that their son's case was officially closed. It's just really sad.
And of Toole, who is the creepiest looking man.
Toole is so creepy.
Disgusting.
So fucking creepy.
He's what you picture in like your worst
Yeah.
nightmare creepster
His eyes are
scenario.
melting away from each other, like sliding off of his face.
There's
His
no
eyes are what my boobs do when I lay on my back.
Oh no.
there's no redeeming feature of his face.
Not a one.
There are several things wrong
Oh,
with
I
him.
have to navigate away because he stares at you. Oh, it's awful.
But also
No.
Adam
No, no,
is
no, no.
so fucking cute.
He's
His
so
little
cute.
toothless grin and his little baseball picture. He's so precious. And normally I'm all about severed heads, but
Not
coming
when it's
off
a
of a
6-year-old
6-year-old,
boy.
No, there's nothing. It's just horrible
Yeah.
and
No,
tragic, and it
yeah.
shouldn't have happened. And there are monsters out there, and it's amazing that this television show brought at least 1,000 of them to justice.
Yeah. Yeah. So over the years, Toole has twice confessed to the killing, but both times he later recanted his admissions. In addition to the Walsh murder, Toole had claimed responsibility for hundreds of other murders, but police determined that most of these confessions were lies. So, like, we still don't really know if it was him.
Yeah, we don't know for sure, and we probably
But at
never
this-
will.
At this point in history, sure, it might as well have been him. Like, this boy is dead. That guy is dead.
Yeah.
There's just so much pain in this whole story.
That's just such a tough spot to be in, though, because, yeah, the child is dead, but there's all this family left behind that now have to accept that this is the most likely answer, but they will never know for certain. And that would be really hard to reconcile every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to choose to believe something and go that
Yeah.
way.
And also, if you want more information about this case, there are plenty of podcast episodes that just focus on this case. And we
Oh, yeah.
need to, sadly move on and cover other things. But I know for a fact that like fairly recently, maybe in the last few months, My Favorite Murder covered this case kind of more in depth. And there are plenty out there. So check
Crime
them out.
Junkie has covered this too. And like a billion others. So
Yeah.
if you're interested. So following Adam's murder, the Walshes have done a ton of work. They founded the Adam Walsh Child Resource Center, which is a nonprofit dedicated to legislative reform, which later merged with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where Walsh serves on the board of directors. They organized a political campaign that eventually led to the creation of the Missing Children Act of 1982 and the Missing Children's Assistance Act of 1984. The Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act was signed into law by George W. in 2006, which focuses on a national sex offender registry, tough penalties for failing to register as a sex offender following release from prison, and civilian access to state websites that track sex offenders.
So are sex offenders not automatically registered when they leave prison?
There is no.
Or they have to like update with
I
their
think you
address.
have to register with
your-
where you reside.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I personally know somebody who's a giant piece of shit. So if anybody who lives in Des Moines probably knows who I'm talking about, had at least one, I'm pretty sure two, like underage sex offenses on his record, refused to register, and also stole tips from his employees and never paid taxes and moved to Portland.
Fun.
Cool.
Anyway,
Portland's problem now.
actually, I think he was run out of Portland too because a
Good.
lot of people in Des Moines were so incensed that they just like
Followed him.
Dox the
followed
motherfucker.
doxed
Yeah.
him. Yeah, fuck that guy. Anyway, but yeah, you need to register where you live, where you're moving
Right.
to if you are a sex offender.
Right. So that feels like an easy way to get out of it. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're definitely like in the system. So say you don't register
And then you get pulled over,
for for a traffic infraction, and then they look up your ID,
Right.
and then it's like, oh, you're not registered in this. Like you will incur more charges.
Right.
And then you're probably gonna fucking go back to jail.
Right.
I think it's a lot harder though to actually enforce it. Which is why this particular guy that I'm thinking of got away with
Just
all
didn't
of this
do
shit.
it.
He just didn't do it. It's kind of like
Yeah.
not paying your taxes in that it's bad and eventually it might catch up to you, but like
But if you don't owe too much,
Yeah.
But also it might not.
yeah.
exactly. So I think that is it's far from perfect is what I'm trying to say.
Great.
Okay, so following Adam's abduction by the late 1990s, a bunch of malls, department stores, and other big stores have adopted what's known as Code Adam, which is announced when a child is missing inside a store or if a child is found by a store employee or customer. All the doors are locked, and a store employee is posted at every exit while a description of the child is broadcast over the intercom. I'd never heard of this. I've never...
Apparently, yeah.
It's either
Apparently,
used,
it's
but-
it's a regular thing. Yeah, I've heard from people who were like, "Yep, we're trained on this. We do this.
I think
Happens
that's-
fairly
yeah.
frequently."
That's great. So the Code Adam was the predecessor to an Amber Alert, which I feel like is...
We all know what that is.
We all know what that is. John Walsh continues to testify before Congress and state legislatures on missing children and victims' rights issues. And of course, no person is without their faults. John
Certainly
Walsh,
not a white guy.
No, certainly not. John Walsh has
Least of which.
had his share of controversies as well.
Uh-oh.
He generated a great deal of controversy during a summer press tour in 2006 when he stated to the media he had jokingly told senators to implant, quote, exploding chips in the anuses of sex offenders. He stated, quote, I said implant it in their anus, and if they go outside the radius, explode it. That would send a big message. Walsh stated that this was a joke, but that, quote, nobody thought it was funny because it's not.
Well,
Just like drink bleach and stand in the hot UV sun is just a joke.
Yeah,
Look, at the
strong
end of the
lights
day-
inside the body.
at the end of the day, he is the father of a victim of a likely sex offender.
I
Oh,
get
honey,
it.
we're not even. I got
That's
more
just,
to go.
That's just the benign
Oh.
stuff.
Should I not be defending him? Because I
There's
don't
more
know
to
any
go.
I
of
hold
this.
off.
You know,
Maybe hold
just
off.
hold off.
Okay.
Yeah, just hold off. Okay.
Okay. Never mind.
Walsh also faced criticism when he advised women to never hire a male babysitter, which was seen as a blatantly sexist remark.
That's
because
bullshit.
it was.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Quote, it's not a witch hunt, he said. It's all about minimizing risks. What dog is more likely to bite and hurt you? A Doberman, not a
for
poodle,
God's sakes.
which is
That's actually not
true. It's
Yeah.
about socialization. Jesus fucking Christ. Don't email me.
Oh, we're talking about dogs? Oh, okay. I was going back to people. I was like, is it about socialization?
Is the poodle about socialization?
He said a Doberman is more likely to bite you than a poodle. And then,
Depends.
likewise, who's more likely to molest a child? A male.
Well,
It's-
I mean, statistically,
yeah, but
sure. But it's
these are
hard
not
to make those blanket statements.
these aren't
Yeah.
apples to apples either.
yeah.
And also, like, you are now a respected and well-known, like, spokesperson and public figure.
And you have to
So-
watch what you say.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is it's like, you can feel this way.
Yeah.
And you can choose not to hire a male babysitter and
Right.
shit on Doberman pinchers in the comfort of your own fucking home. Don't bring this shit into, like, my spaces.
I
Don't
still,
present it as fact to
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, then we got more to go before Kenyon
Okay.
jumps to his defense again.
You want to defend him so badly.
Well,
Just
he's
don't.
the father of a victim.
We'll get to it.
Well,
I don't
a lot
know
of men
anything
have
else
sisters
about
that are
him.
still
I know.
rapists.
I'm about to tell you more about him. John Walsh also admitted in his book, Tears of Rage, that he began dating his wife when he was in his early 20s and she was 16 years old, which would have made him subject to the sex offender registration under the law, which he aggressively promoted. And yes, that is in New York State at the time when he started dating his wife.
Okay.
Some have accused him of creating, quote, predator panic. For example, he testified before Congress on February 2nd, 1983, where he gave an unsourced claim of 50,000 abducted and 1.5 million missing children annually. He testified
That's
that the
not
U.S.
backed up
is,
by-
Yeah,
quote,
he's just making shit up.
Yes, he testified that the U.S. is, quote, littered with mutilated, decapitated, raped, strangled children, when in fact a 1999 Department of Justice study found only 115 incidences of stereotypical kidnappings perpetrated by strangers. So, like, the kind of kid abduction
Right, that he's
happened
referring
to
to.
his
to
son.
his son. Yeah.
About 50 of which resulted in death or the child not being found. There are also some shadowy monetary issues as well with their private charity. To Kenyon's point, none of this negates the important work that the Walsh family has done, but I'm simply pointing out that nothing is ever black and white. Nobody in particular, not white dudes, are not problematic.
Well, and
at any
trauma
point.
can often
yes.
create prejudice too that is really like toxic and damaging, and it's
And
really hard to
anxiety.
reconcile. Yeah.
He and his family have gone through so much shit. It would be impossible for this kind of stuff not to bubble up to the surface.
And it's
So
kind
I'm
of
just-
an out there choice to have someone who is a victim's family member be the
then
face of this.
the-
I mean,
yeah.
that's a very heavy mantle to bear.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to bring this up to not paint John Walsh as this
as some
like
sort of saint.
as
yeah.
a saint. I don't want to. Yeah.
Right. He's
Whatever.
not Mr. Rogers.
He is not Mr. Rogers.
Only Mr. Rogers is Mr. Rogers.
Don't email me about Mr. Rogers's
I can't.
skeletons. I can't handle
I can't.
No.
And I hope they are not out there. And
I don't
want to
know. I don't want to
take
know.
it if they are.
So here's a little fun fact. When America's Most Wanted debuted, the show's first toll-free hotline number was 1-800-CRIME-88. So it was like 1-800-274-6388. So that spelled out crime. The last two digits of the hotline number changed each year between 1989 and 1993 at the start of a new year until 1994 when the 88 number was reinstituted permanently as the hotline number, with 88 now standing for TV. But
like just stop changing it.
whose
Don't make
fucking
it
idea
harder.
was that?
Yeah.
They weren't thinking about it.
That's so fucking stupid to me.
Yeah, don't have a year be part of your television
Permanent
hotline.
brand.
You want the
Branding.
number to be
Your
super
AIM
easy. Yeah. To
name.
remember and just not change. 1-800-6969. It's
420.
not that hard.
Exactly.
God.
So while the
idiots.
premise of the show suggests a tie to the FBI's most wanted list, it isn't exactly aligned with it. John Walsh has his own Dirty Dozen list that features criminals at large who have been profiled on the show. The FBI's list, of course, changes fairly regularly. So the FBI's list will change if the suspect is captured, dies, if charges are dropped, or if the FBI decides that a replacement should take priority. And occasionally they will put up an 11th suspect if they're all like super duper dangerous. The FBI's 10 Most Wanted started out as basically just a self-promotional news article in the International News Service. J. Edgar Hoover and the International News Service's editor-in-chief, William Kinsey Hutchinson, wrote it together in 1949. So they basically just wanted to show the public a list of all these like tough guys that the
Top
FBI was
10's
tracking
work,
down.
Man.
Top 10.
It's the first listicle.
It's a listicle.
It's clickbait.
So people loved it so much that it has just been a standing list since then, since 1949.
Yeah.
Also, last but not least, currently on the list is Jason Derek Brown. One of you
Momoa.
covered him.
I did.
Yes. So he was like the California surfer dude who like
Yeah.
shot and killed an armored car driver in Phoenix
Oh,
and rode off on a
yeah.
bike.
Yeah, he was
Weird.
like a former Mormon turned like
Yes.
scammer surfer.
Yes.
No es mormon, no more.
Yeah,
Oh,
no
yeah.
es Mormon.
And he looks like Blortney's ex-boyfriend.
He does.
Surfer, blonde
Yeah.
hair, green eyes, like
Oh, that one.
Spicoli.
He
Yes.
looks like exactly like Spicoli.
Anyway, that's my background for you for America's Most Wanted.
Well
Wow,
done.
what a ride.
I learned a lot.
Thanks.
It was kind of a roller coaster of emotions for me.
A lot that I wasn't expecting, to be honest with you.
Yeah. This case is horrible.
Oh,
but
what
there
else is new?
Justice at the end. So
Okay.
that is the bright spot. Bright side, bright side. And the criminal that I'm talking about is Ricky Allen Bright.
Ish.
Ricky Allen.
Ricketts. Alan
Almost.
Bright.
Pretty much all Allens, except my grandpa.
Almost all Allens.
Pretty much all Allens.
Ricky Allen Bright was born in 1954 and grew up in Charleston, West Virginia.
Virginia.
West Virginia.
Urjana.
Urjana.
He was the oldest of 4 brothers and was primarily raised by his grandparents because both of his parents were largely absent. And I don't really know why, but it doesn't sound like a great home life. Possibly some drug use. I don't know.
Okay.
According to his own account of his life, which may or may not be accurate because sometimes these guys make shit up to get
Totally.
attention or sympathy. But according to his own account, his grandfather introduced him to alcohol at age 2 or 3.
Little young, although some whiskey on the gums of a teething child never hurt anybody.
I think that's different than introducing to
Oh,
alcohol.
for sure.
Oh, my God.
That's bad.
Not great.
Can you imagine a drunk baby? Ugh,
Oh.
that's so disturbing.
Yeah.
And annoying.
But also, remember that drunk baby on our flight from
That baby was so cute
was
and
one of our-
so drunk.
one of our connecting flights when we went
The
to South
baby
Africa
was drunk?
for
The
Kenyon's
baby
wedding.
wasn't actually drunk,
I think
but
it
we'd
was
been
drugged.
This baby had been on a transatlantic flight to God knows wherever you got married. And like this woman was flying alone with this infant child, and like the Emirates staff were like taking turns rocking. I mean, the baby was really good. But when we saw that baby's face, that baby was like blasted out of its mind. It was just baby tired.
It was
drunk.
either
Yeah.
baby, it was just straight baby tired, but also we didn't hear a peep out of it.
Exhausted.
It was on 2 of our flights, which makes
That's
me think that it
amazing.
was drugged, but it was like,
That baby traveled way better than we did. Scott's the one who spilled red wine all over the airplane.
Scott sprayed his red wine.
It
Like,
was
I
like
don't
a
know
hose.
how it got as far as it did.
Well, it got that far because every time the cart went around, we were like, yes, more.
But
And then we were drunk and watching like Armageddon together on the
Alcohol
plane.
on planes also gets to you faster. There's something
Oh,
about
yeah.
the elevation.
The altitude.
Anyway, okay.
Okay.
It was
this awful
amazing.
murder. Okay.
Drunk
Yes.
baby.
So, Bright also claimed to have suffered multiple head injuries at the age of 4 when he was when the car that he was riding in was hit by a drunk driver and he was thrown into the dashboard.
Maybe he was drunk driving at the age of 4.
At the age of 4,
Maybe
it
there was
could
a
be.
drunk baby behind the driver's
Yeah.
seat of that car.
Oh.
And
But
it was a
we've got-
baby off.
We've got parental neglect, we've got alcoholic grandparents, guardians, and from a young age, and we've got head injury.
TBI.
Yeah.
Perfect storm.
Yeah,
Great. Good start to a
to a life.
successful life.
This is a win on the gonna be a murderer bingo card.
Yeah.
For
Oh,
sure.
yeah. We're already real close to bingo. Alan,
I didn't even
out.
use the free space yet.
Ricky.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Bright continued to drink alcohol throughout his childhood and teen years. He dropped out of high school in 10th grade. And at the age of 20, he married his 16-year-old girlfriend, Kathy Ann, who was already pregnant.
It's John Walsh.
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh, but he was in his early 20s when he
That's
started dating his.
That's the joke, girl.
I get it.
That was it.
I got it now.
She's
the joke,
following. That was the joke.
So the couple went on to have 4 children in quick succession, moving around to several different towns in West Virginia, Ohio, and North Carolina.
They're Catholic.
With Ricky earning money as a handyman, I almost just hired
No
him.
comment.
Oh,
God.
no.
And by playing gigs with various country music bands. And this job also like always provided him with access to alcohol because if their band wasn't getting paid very well at a gig, they would at least be given, like free booze.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As we know, our podcast job provides us with easy access to free alcohol.
Oh, sure.
The drink tickets are my favorite part.
We're paid in drink tickets
Some
and
are
best
very-
fiends gold.
Some venues are very stingy with the drink tickets, I must say.
So they saw us coming from a mile away.
They're going to drink us out of house and home. So in the late 1970s, Ricky Allen experienced a succession of, again, according to him, extremely distressing events. One of his brothers was badly injured in a car accident, and his beloved grandmother died.
Aww.
Reflecting on this time period, Ricky Allen would later write, quote, in the third person, quote, was all caps, sorry. Was all this too much for Ricky to live normally under?
Clearly, yes.
Apparently.
Sir, your tweets.
I say that to myself every morning.
Was all this too much,
Too much
for Lucy to live
to
normally under?
I screamed that to myself while I was watering the trees earlier in not my own backyard.
Lucy's own manic inner monologue coming out in bursts of rage is
All
like
caps rage in
my
third
favorite
person.
thing.
Lucy is not feeling this right now.
No.
Actually, Lucy started a list earlier today of all the things that bother her.
Yes.
Because it was just one of those days I needed to get it out.
I kind of want to hear a couple things
Yeah,
off the
I
list.
do. If we have
Okay.
time at the end. Okay.
My keys, too many keys on my key ring. My keys are too big. I don't want to be that kind of person.
Got it.
I have had 2 bags of clothes to drop off at Goodwill in the backseat of my car for months.
Got it.
I
Yeah.
have a Ziploc bag full of batteries that I don't want to just throw away because that's irresponsible. But like, what
Yeah.
the fuck do you do with them?
Look up your local battery dispensary.
I have. I just
Okay.
haven't taken it. Whatever.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
Add it to the bag.
We
of
can
clothes
She's
in
move
the
not
on.
backseat.
looking for solutions.
I also slammed my
Fair.
finger in a drawer the other day. It's gray. Look at the fingernail. It's
I
is
can
gray.
tell. It's the
It's
middle
gray.
finger.
Yes,
That's
it's
not
this one.
good. That is not good.
Compare it to the other one.
My God, it's really gray.
Yeah.
Oh.
Paint them.
Lucy's not
Too
doing
much for
great
Lucy
right
to
now.
live normally under.
She's losing it.
But I showered today.
Good job, honey.
Going.
Okay, so as Lucy will eventually do, Ricky would
She
later
snapped.
refer back to these stressful circumstances in order to downplay and justify his unjustifiable crime.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I'm close.
I'm texting
Okay,
Corey to
but-
tell him to get out of the house.
He's out. He saw the writing on the wall. He's out.
All right. Okay, get your laughs out now because this crime is fucking horrible.
Okay.
Good.
Jesus fuck.
Down the
go.
hatch.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, so in 1979, he kidnapped and sexually assaulted a 7-year-old girl in Gastonia, North Carolina.
I'm
that's
not going to
sick.
go that far.
Yeah. The crime took place at a bowling alley called Major League Lanes.
How
Where-
dare you ruin bowling like that, you fucking asshole.
We'll
get
and
to
also
the
like this
bowling.
person's life, but still.
Where
Don't
Brigh-
sully the great name of bowling
Yeah.
with your heinousness.
Great name.
Where Bright worked as a repairman, because there's nothing creepier than like
Then a bowling alley
Bowling alley repairman.
repairman. Isn't that
Which,
like next
you
level
know,
creepy?
Okay,
all
but
God's jobs, but this
also-
is just
in like 79, I'm assuming they maybe didn't have the automatic put the pins back up. So there were people lurking behind to
Yeah.
set the pins back up.
creatures
Yeah.
just
Really
mole
high
people?
teenagers.
Yes. With heavy balls flying at your face.
Yeah.
there
So-
goes my social life.
This classic.
A little girl was harmed. Let's
Yes,
get back to
and-
it.
I'm
okay.
coping inappropriately.
Okay.
Story of my life.
So this is the story. His victim was at the bowling alley with her family that day. Nice little family outing. She remembers that when Bright approached her, she was playing an arcade game, so similar to Adam
Again.
Walsh,
Ugh.
and her parents were somewhere very nearby. They were inside the same building.
Wait, she remembers, so she didn't get killed.
We will get to it.
Okay.
Bright told her that he worked at the bowling alley and offered to give her a bowling pin to take home with her.
I would have said yes, absolutely.
I would have
Yeah.
taken that in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
You could get me now
Yeah.
at 33
Yeah.
with the offer of a vintage 1970s bowling alley bowling pin.
Yeah.
Or
Yes,
just
sir.
a straight
I'll
up
follow
used
you anywhere.
bowling pin.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a
Follow you
I
anywhere.
have a pair of used bowling shoes. I don't know where they're from.
They're
I
from
do.
Excelsior Lanes.
They're from
Yeah.
the one in Shorewood.
And
Yeah.
we all stole bowling
Yeah.
Yep.
shoes.
That's why we're not allowed back.
But he told her that she would have to follow him back out to his car to get it.
Makes sense. It's in a secure location. Yeah,
And
get it.
so she did, of course. She's 7. He then told her that he needed to take his car to go get some gas and that she should come along.
Oh, honey, she just has no idea.
She's just a
She's
baby.
7.
She's a baby.
But you do what adults tell you to do
Yeah. Yeah.
at 7 and
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. His victim remembers getting into his car when told, and that the seats and the floor of the car were covered in empty beer cans.
Of fucking course they were.
Gross.
Be classy. Have them covered in empty sparkling water cans like my car is. Okay?
You're so hydrated.
I know.
She recalls knowing that something was wrong when Bright put gas in his car, but then didn't return to the bowling alley.
Yep.
Instead, he drove to a house she didn't recognize and got out to talk to someone, leaving her in the car, and then he returned, but instead of driving back, he drove her down a dirt road. And then he
Girl.
parked in an isolated area, told her to take off her clothes. When she refused, he slapped her Yeah. According to one newspaper account, quote, he tried to rape her but didn't penetrate her. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, she remembers him hugging her.
No.
And telling her he was going to take her to a motel. But instead, he drove back towards the bowling alley and dropped her off in a nearby parking lot.
I mean, thank God.
Yeah. Which is like, that's amazing. Like,
This could have ended
The fact
so
that he didn't
much
kill
worse.
her is kind of a miracle.
Yeah. She remembers briefly being afraid that he would try to run her over with his car, but he just drove away and she wasn't quite sure where she was. And then finally a kind stranger noticed her and helped her find her way back to the bowling alley and her parents, who had been like frantically searching for her.
Oh my God.
And this part made me cry. She remembers her father hugging her so hard she could barely breathe.
Oh, I mean, I get it, but don't kill her because you're so excited to see her.
Oh, but,
Sir!
But I mean,
I
Bear
know.
hug. My grandpa used to give me bear hugs and I could hardly breathe. They were my favorite thing.
I mean, can you even imagine the relief that you must feel
No.
after searching for your kid and then...
Having a missing child is my biggest fear. And I'm not even a parent.
Right.
Like, that is, I can't imagine. I can't go there.
So very bravely, she and her family went to the police, and based on her description of the man who had shoulder-length frizzy hair and glasses and who said that he worked at the bowling alley, they very quickly, police were able to arrest Brigh and charge him with kidnapping and attempted rape. I would go so far as to say rape.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Fucking
molestation at the least.
Child rape.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to life in prison, but he almost immediately, once he got to prison, began campaigning for a reduced sentence.
Of fucking course he did.
Yeah, because it's all about him. In 1981, he sent a 4-page letter to Jim Hunt, the then governor of North Carolina, pleading for him.
And possible, in the running
Candidate for America's
spokesperson
Most
for
Wanted.
America's
Yeah.
Most Wanted.
Can you imagine?
Yet one
My
more
God.
governor
Oh my God.
for him to commute his sentence. And according to one source who read the letter, quote, "It's an extraordinary document written in the third person
Yep.
as if he were describing a character in a dime novel."
That is
So it's shit. And yes, I
creepy.
do want to read it.
Yeah. Oh, we have some prime quotes from it.
The third
Okay, good.
person thing is so
It
it's
freaks me
so
the fuck out.
dissociative. It's
Yes.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yep.
According to
Yep.
one source, I already read that. In the letter, Ricky Allen downplayed his crime, writing that
course.
he was drunk and hadn't actually, quote, harmed the girl.
He just abducted her, slapped her, molested her, took her
Yeah.
down a dirt
Yeah.
road.
Yeah.
Glommed his
Abandoned her.
gross dick and just by the grace of God wasn't successful in penetrating her, which under the eyes of the law was the only fucking reason you didn't
Yeah.
get a solid rape charge.
Right, which is fucking bullshit in and of
Bullshit.
itself.
Yup.
Because the experience is the same. Okay.
Yup. The trauma is the fucking same.
Yeah. And he claimed that he needed to be let out so that he could take care of his own children.
Oh, good. He's got kids.
Yeah.
Great.
He also claimed that he'd
Just
enrolled
chipped
in
my nails.
AA and was studying to be a minister.
What
Aren't
is
they
with these guys
all
going to prison and then becoming men of God?
Yeah.
finding Jesus?
He's so gross. Referring to himself again in the third person, he wrote, quote, "Ricky has an uncanny knack for learning and achieving. His IQ is 118 plus."
Okay.
Isn't that average? What is the average?
I think that's average. All right, I'll Google it. You can move on.
And, quote, "Ricky has the ability to excel if he can get the opportunity and assistance. Ricky is an exceptional case."
Average is between 90 to 110, 111 to 120 is high average, and 121 and above is superior.
So he's high average, according to him.
According to him, he's high average.
According to Ricky,
Yeah.
he's high average.
Jim Hunt, the governor, ignored the 1981 letter, but Brigh continued to push for release any way he could. And ultimately, in the early 1990s, he was accepted into a program that prepared inmates with records of good behavior in prison, which is meaningless, especially when it comes to pedophiles. For parole. Brigh's friends and family and members of the clergy of the church he had grown up attending wrote dozens of letters in support of his early release. His victim, on the other hand, when she learned that Brigh was being considered for parole, spoke out vehemently against his being released early. She wrote to the North Carolina Parole Board asking them not to approve his request.
Is she like a full adult at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She never released her name to the press for fear that Brigh might come after her after he was let out. But she asked that local newspapers print a photo of her as a young girl, like when it happened.
Oof.
So that the public would understand how vulnerable she had been and consider his other like potential victims, which I just thought was like,
People could see their daughter in that
Right.
picture.
yeah.
And,
But despite all of this, in late 1994, she received a letter back from the parole board explaining that they decided to release Brigh, but that he would be under strict supervision for months.
Yeah, as
So-
if that's helpful and as if we have systems in place to actually effectively do that.
No,
Because, the
especially
police are
for
useless.
pedophiles. Like,
Yeah.
what the supervision would have to be. Children are everywhere. In January of 1995, Ricky Allen Brigh, now 41, was released on parole. He found a place to live in Wilkes County, North Carolina, in a trailer park at the end of a dirt road in the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is the grossest part. He styled himself as a reformed sinner who had discovered a religious calling.
Oh, God.
Yeah, okay.
He attended church every Sunday, sang in a gospel choir, and dressed in dark suits, usually carrying a Bible under his arm.
Oh, he's a Gilead commander. Got it.
He's doing too much. It's
Got
too
it.
performative.
Yeah.
It's like Trump with his Bible. With
Yeah.
a Bible.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Just-
a Bible.
Just waving it around.
Right. Pepper spraying peaceful organizers.
So his victim in the kidnapping was now 23 years old. And she told one newspaper, quote, "I had this eerie feeling he was out there and he would do it again." And she was right.
Ugh.
Just 8 months after his release, Brigh committed an almost identical crime to the one he had gone to prison for.
I mean, this kind of behavior.
Yeah, it's
if-
compulsive.
It's compulsive.
compulsive.
And if it can be reformed, it is through intense therapeutic measures that
I
are
also don't
not,
even think, honestly, I don't
In a lot of
think
cases,
that there
it
is
can't.
statistical evidence.
No, there isn't. I'm
supporting
not
that it
saying,
can be.
I'm not saying that there is, but I'm saying even if it could, the prison system is not built to rehabilitate
No, there
offenders.
was no rehabilitation done for
Correct.
this man at all.
There isn't ever any. So we do not reintroduce offenders who are legitimate offenders back into society with the tools and the preparation to be able to exist in society safely. Because that's not what the fucking prison system is about.
No.
So this was
a
doomed
warehouse.
from the fucking start.
Yeah.
It was doomed from the fucking start. There's no
Yeah.
fucking justice. I'm just going to keep getting drunk. I
Yeah.
hate it.
Hence that island that Oprah talked about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sound like a lunatic just saying that.
That
but you
island.
both know you both know what I'm
In
talking about.
Animal Crossing.
The criminal
Oprah's
justice
Island.
system is flawed, hence Oprah's
Oprah's
Island.
Island.
Oprah's pedophile island.
Okay, do not say Oprah's pedophile island.
That's
That is not a thing.
I'm Googling
Okay.
Oprah's pedophile.
Do
I
not-
bet you it gets a hit.
No.
QAnon will definitely add you
it's-
to their roster.
It'll get a hit
Oprah's
from all of the
pedophile
fucking weird
island.
Republicans in Congress that believe in QAnon.
Breitbart's
theories.
going to be like, yay, we got a new one.
Finally.
Yes, it's the second hit. It's McNeil Island Correction Center.
Yeah.
Which houses hundreds of dangerous sex offenders. So it was the second hit. The first one was about Epstein.
Okay.
Anyway.
So, this is another horrible crime. At around 3 a.m. on October 8th, 1995, Ricky entered his neighbor's trailer and abducted the 9-year-old girl who was living there with her family. And according to one source, this girl and her family attended the same church as Ricky. So
Of course, they're fucking neighbors.
Yeah, they're neighbors, and of course, he's using his guise of being a churchman
A reformed
to prey
man
on
of God.
children. Yeah, it's his fucking hunting ground. He drove the child over state lines, stopping in a densely wooded area of West Virginia, where he beat and raped her. He then brought the girl back to his car and drove around with her for hours. So I think he was contemplating
Killing her.
Very
or at
possible.
least abusing her again.
This 9-year-old was able to convince him to let her go. And he left her by the side of the road about a mile from the trailer park where she lived.
Good for her.
Her mother, who had woken up to find her gone, had been frantically searching the area for her and was not able to find her until 2 p.m. that afternoon.
What a brave child for having been through this ordeal and then having the wherewithal to convince him
A 9-year-old.
to let her go.
Yeah.
I would be wrecked. I would be ruined. I don't know.
Well, you just don't know, actually.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but I mean, that's possible. It's possible that you'd be catatonic from the trauma. And
Right.
it's
Exactly.
possible that you would do the same thing as her or anything in between. You just don't know. So the family immediately went to the police to report what had happened and to identify Ricky Allen Bright. But when police went to his trailer to arrest him, he'd already vanished.
Fucking duh. Fucking duh, he did.
Yep. Bright's case caused an uproar in North Carolina over the issue of parole for sex offenders. Jim Hunt, who was still governor, publicly criticized the parole decision and wrote to the parole board in a letter that he was, quote, stunned that sex offenses against children weren't taken more seriously.
Pay attention, Jim Hunt.
Well, I mean, he was asked
Junt.
to... There's nothing he could have done before that. Honestly, like, he was asked by this offender to commute his sentence. He didn't,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, but I
But-
feel like as the governor.
He doesn't control the parole board, though.
Right.
No, I know that, but yes, hindsight is 2020. But I would think as the governor of a state,
You could promote
you could
certain legislation.
you could easily be made aware of certain statistics that are
Right.
plaguing your community.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
In response, the parole board vowed to review the process by which violent criminals are evaluated for parole. So, like, just the fact that they haven't been violent in prison shouldn't be the only criteria.
Especially when it comes to compulsive behavior like pedophilia,
Right.
that doesn't trigger that if there's no trigger around.
Right.
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 So, Ricky Allen Bright was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted list in November of 1995. Soon after adding him to the list, the FBI received a call from a man in Akron, Ohio, named Joel Brown, who owned the Parkside Male Residential Hotel. I bet he had the FBI on, like, speed dial.
M-A-L-E. M-A-L-E, male.
Male.
Yeah.
M-A-L-E.
Oh, weird.
Like, for men.
Dudes.
For men.
For men's rights.
Dudes.
For men who have hit rock bottom. The Parkside Rock Bottom Male Residential Hotel.
I want to drive by this hotel
Yeah.
and snap photos through my window and never get out or go near it.
I would say, though, but maybe that's segregating it as a male residential hotel was actually the safer option.
Probably.
Yeah.
Than having like co-ed, you know.
Mm-hmm. So according to Brown, Brigh had rented a room from him from October 13th until November 11th.
I mean, was this place like a designated halfway house, or is it
No.
literally a hotel?
It's a motel. It's a cheap
It's a long-term motel
week,
for men.
Yeah, like you
All
can
right.
rent by the week. And
Then I stand by being grossed out by
yeah,
it.
it's disgusting. But at
it's
least
gross.
At
Just
least the
confirming.
owner fucking watched America's Most Wanted and called the FBI.
Well, yeah, because probably his tenants are fucking on the show every goddamn weekend.
Exactly. That's why they're on speed dial.
It's like, oh, Ricky.
1-800-CRIME TV.
Yeah, yeah. So Brown described Ricky as, quote, Mr. Easygoing guy, an unassuming fellow.
Natch.
In the short time that Brigh had been living at the motel, just a few weeks, he'd found a job as a maintenance man at a nearby bowling alley
Stop. I mean, do what you
Love
know.
setting up those pins.
Do what you know.
and always paid for his room and utilities on time. On November 11th, he had checked out but did not say where he was going. A few days later, Brown had turned on the TV and saw a news story about Brigh being wanted by the FBI, and so he called in to report. Brigh was spotted about a month later in Detroit, again at a motel, and once again, he had left by the time the FBI made it in time to investigate the tip.
He's slippery.
He's slippery. They're close. They keep
He's
getting
greasing those lanes.
Ew. Yeah, he's slippery as a bowling
He's slippery,
alley
but he's in the
lane.
gutter.
Oh.
Ooh. Their FBI is about to strike.
Nice.
Get it?
I get it. That's great. Then, in December of 1995, Ricky Allen Brigh was featured on an episode of America's Most Wanted.
I am dub.
Calls reported sightings of Brigh began coming in almost immediately. One of these calls was from Nashville, and the caller claimed that they had seen Ricky playing drums in a local band.
Oh, that's right. He played in
The country bands.
Country bands.
Yep. The FBI investigated and found that, sure enough, Brigh had been living under the name Alan Barker and had found work as a musician. Members of FBI's Violent Crimes Unit traveled to Nashville and found Ricky performing at a local hotel. And when I say performing, I mean he was mid-performance
Incredible.
when the FBI came in.
Did
They're
they
all
arrest him off
woo-girling
stage?
from the audience.
He was arrested at the motel he had been living at and was convicted on rape and kidnapping charges and sentenced to life in prison. But also I read that when they first came in and arrested him, he said, quote, "I'm the one you're looking for."
Oh my God. A country song in the
Obviously.
making. What a
And
fucking
that
drama king.
is my case.
Nice.
Well, fuck that guy.
Job.
1,000%.
Fuck that guy.
Piece of shit. Well
Fuck
done.
that guy.
Not
Yep.
too
Thank you.
bright for being
Alan
such
Bright.
a above average IQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for being
181
just above average.
ish.
Jesus.
Brag about it.
Well
good
done,
job.
mama. So this is the email that our fan picker Jen C sent in. So, quote, "The specific case I would like you to cover is Malika Griffin. She does have a Snapped episode about her, which I highly recommend you watch. Spoiler alert, I did not watch it. I talk about that later." She says, "I have a very personal connection to this case because the person that Malika killed was my cousin, Jason Horsley. One of my earliest memories when I was almost 5 was staying at my grandmother's for a sleepover when she received the phone call that Jason had been shot. I vividly remember my grandma crumpling to the floor while sobbing and being unaware of how I could comfort her. Because you're just a little baby muffin.
You're 5. Almost
Although
5.
Jason and I were about 20 years apart in age, him being one of the oldest grandchildren and me being the youngest, I know him to have been a kind and compassionate person. What Malika did was unforgivable, and so many members of my family have been affected forever. I feel angry that America's systemic racism and sexism ultimately led to her resorting to a violent act, and we will get to it. I can sympathize with the experience she must have had as a Black woman living in this country and with her experience as a woman in a predominantly male-specific field or scientific field. That being said, it does not excuse her actions, and I wish that she had used her education for good rather than evil, and that our country gets a wake-up call about the way it treats people of color and women. Yes. Jason will always be remembered in my family as a wonderful person, and I hope that a small part of him will be remembered by my fellow members of the Wine Coven.
Hey, wow.
So, Jency, I'm really glad that you brought that up and that through this trauma, you're able to kind of see some of this perspective. And like I said, we'll get to it because I have thoughts on it as well. But this is a really tough spot that you're in. And I just wish you all the best because this is obviously an extremely sad story. So here we go. First, I wanted to just start by saying that I'm doing everything I possibly can to do this case justice. And as with any case that we cover, the victims of these crimes are remembered by family and loved ones. And this is no different. And, Jency is this man's cousin who died. And so we want to treat this extra cautiously, but I'm going to do the best that I possibly can. Here we go. There isn't a ton out there about this case, but this is what I got. So Malika Griffin was born on May 11th of 1971 in Mississippi. And though I couldn't find a whole lot about her childhood, it was noted in a few articles that Malika kept to herself. She didn't really have many friends. And the friends that she did have, they'd invite her to parties and stuff. And she was no. And she studied really hard and just kind of kept to herself.
Okay.
After graduating magna cum laude from Jackson State University with a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, so she's fucking smart.
Damn.
She packed her backpack and hopped the pond to Europe, where she traveled alone for the better part of a year.
Traveling alone for a year is no joke.
No joke. And in a place that she'd never been there.
Yeah.
So she was very
cool.
independent. She was super outdoorsy. She had top of the line camping gear. She really enjoyed kind of putting
Nature.
herself in almost survival mode situations and crushing
Fending for herself.
Right. Yeah. So after Malika returned to the States, she settled in Denver, Colorado, and landed a job at a local pharmacy. She found an affordable apartment next door to the home of a young couple, Jason Patrick Horsley, who is our fan picker's cousin, and Deborah Loisel. Who knows? Papier-mâché. After living there only a short time, it was immediately clear that Malika was not happy with her neighbors. And we'll kind of circle back on this a little bit, but some reports said that Jason and Deborah had purchased and moved into what was previously a crack house. So it was they were flipping the home, and there's sort of to do a lot of work. Yeah, had to do a lot of work, but also there's sort of that gentrification aspect to this that might have been a little bit challenging for Malika to accept. So Jason was a carpenter. He was frequently working on projects in and outside of the house, hi, welcome to homeownership. Story of my fucking life. Malika did not like the noise or the clutter of tools and materials outside of the home. She also grew increasingly irritated with the couple's car being parked out front. And Jason had this truck because he was a carpenter and he was lugging shit everywhere. And he was parked out front on totally public property. I think she just didn't want to fucking look at it. So
Clearly I don't know exactly what happens next, but I will say that having a neighbor doing extensive renovations as being that neighbor, very annoying.
Sure, none of this is a reason to kill anybody, but
obviously not.
I just my philosophy, and this is also true when we were renting and had noisy neighbors on, upstairs or downstairs neighbors, whatever. It's you let their shit slide and hopefully they'll let your shit slide. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
This isn't about that.
Yeah, okay.
At all.
Okay.
So we're gonna get to it, but this is not just your run of the mill neighborly disagreement.
Irritants.
Right. So what began as a curmudgeonly neighbor drama with strong words exchanged escalated one day when Jason left a ladder in the front yard, part of which allegedly was on Malika's lawn. And Malika was so upset over this that she began to argue with Jason, which had kind of become a pattern. They would encounter each other all the time. She'd be pissed that he was leaving his shit all over the place or outside working, whatever. Yeah. But it was bad enough that day that Jason and Deborah decided to just leave the house, let her cool off. They did not even want to be on their own property because their neighbor was freaking them out at this point.
Ugh.
Then on May 18th of 1999, Malika just lost it. She had enough. Okay, so Jason was unloading tools and materials from his truck.
Is this soon after the ladder thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they lived next door to each other for like a handful of months. Like they were not long time
This wasn't
neighbors.
years.
No.
Damn.
No. This was rapid.
Okay.
And Jason and Deborah were already living there when Malika moved in next door. So Jason was unloading tools and materials from his truck when which was parked out front. Jason, while unloading, had put some tools on the sidewalk with the intention of gathering them up and moving them inside. And in response to the mess, Malika took a 9mm handgun, came outside, and shot Jason directly in the back. Some reports said that this killed him instantly, and some said that he died at the hospital a few hours later. Personally, I'm hoping it was the former and that he did not suffer.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
An overreaction.
Well, exactly. And that we're going to get to that part now. So, well, not now, but soon. So Malika then went to a friend's house after the shooting. And same 9mm handgun in hand. She demanded their vehicle so that she could escape. She did hold them at gunpoint to take their car, but she did not harm her friends. She then went on the run. She headed from Denver to Iowa City, Iowa. Ever heard of it? It's unclear
Yes.
how long she remained in Iowa, but this is where the stolen car was found abandoned. Some bewildering items were found in her apartment back in Denver as well. These items included a 9mm carbine, which I put a photo of it on the drive. I really was unfamiliar with this type of gun. It's like a larger gun that sort of falls in between a rifle and a pistol, but it's really scary looking.
Oh, it's like an automatic. It's like a Al Pacino gun.
It's a scary looking gun. They're commonly
What the
purchased
fuck
for
was she doing with that
self-defense.
gun?
Well, we'll get to it. Other things found in her apartment were hand grenades, books commonly owned by domestic terrorists, including the Anarchist Cookbook, Home Workshop Silencers. This is a book that teaches you how to make them, and The Poor Man's James Bond. All of these among a library of reading that she had cultivated that teach some pretty fucked up methods for inciting violence. So they also found a diary that she had written, and within its pages were Malika's innermost thoughts and pain and oppression that developed into a deep hatred for white people.
Oh.
So Malika was seen shortly after the shooting boarding a bus from Iowa to Chicago. From there, once she reached Chicago, she completely disappeared. She'd already been featured on America's Most Wanted in early 2000 without any viable tips coming in. And in 2004, she was featured again. So now she's been evading capture for 5 years.
That's crazy.
Yep, and they run this story again on America's Most Wanted. And this second feature finally brought in some information. The episode was seen by coworkers of Malika who called the provided tip line. Malika had been going by Lake Griffin, so not exactly an alias, like just a nickname, same last name.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, her last name was
her name is
Griffin.
Malika Griffin. She was
Lake
going by
Griffin.
Lake Griffin.
Yeah, if you're
Wow.
going to change your name, like, fucking change it.
Well, right. And a lot of, reports kind of point that out where it's like, yeah, she fled, but did she kind of want to be caught? It's like she...
Or like, could we have caught her
Right.
reasonably if we
For
had
sure.
really tried?
So she was working at a biotech firm as a lab assistant outside of Chicago. Responding to the tip, the FBI confronted her and she immediately admitted her identity and was taken into custody. So she did not put up a fuss about that at all. She was charged with first-degree murder, aggravated robbery, and aggravated motor vehicle theft and returned to Colorado to stand trial. The trial began on February 27th, 2006. Presented into evidence were all of the items found in her home, including all the books, and readings from her diary were also presented to the court. And now I'm not going to read them because the language is super triggering, but this is where this gets very complicated, and at the risk of pissing people off, I'm just going to share my thoughts on this. And they're shots that clearly Jency also shares. Obviously, I do not condone murder, and this was a heinous act of violence. And like you said, it's totally unforgivable. But reading some of the diary excerpts, however, there's a glimpse there into years of pain and trauma and oppression that Malika experienced at the hands of white people. So I can't condone the violence of this case without also condoning the white violence that creates and contributes to the kind of pain and anger that allows this sort of thing to happen.
Of
And
course, but
it feels similar to the abused becoming the abuser because of the history of pain and violence that creates more violence. So like we talk a lot about the justice system and reimagining what that looks like. And I feel like this is a good example of evaluating like the why. Not to say that Malika does not deserve to see justice, because she does. She has to atone for her crimes. But
and also the same thing with Kenyon's case, the grandparents introducing the child to alcohol. It's kind of like,
right.
We all have moments of like, oh, of course it turned out this way.
And when we pick apart like a lot of previous perpetrators, like you can kind of follow that line of like, this is kind of how that happened.
I guess, but I just think that, I mean, every person of color has to contend with systemic racism and you know, discrimination and everything every single day, and they don't go out and commit these crimes, and they're also not more likely to commit crimes.
I'm not saying that they are.
I know you're not. I'm just think that like it feels to me like this is maybe more of a mental health crisis that went unrecognized, which also is a factor of systemic racism.
Mm-hmm. Where like trauma either way.
Absolutely.
Where like black women are
agree.
not, recognized as suffering from mental health crises as frequently, and it's noted as behavioral problems, or it's ignored, or it's, suppressed or whatever. I just feel like a woman of color who is extremely upset about systemic racism, who happens to murder her white neighbor, to me, that doesn't track. To me, that's a mental health issue.
I think that humans are complicated enough where all of these things can be true. So
right.
I think that obviously what pushes you over the edge is going to be different for every person. Mm-hmm. And that untreated mental health is a serious issue. And it's the same thing where you could, if you replace the race aspect with, say, a victim of abuse, where, right. A history of abuse can, in certain cases, create an abuser, or, people can go in a different direction. And it's a lot of like, how you have resources for healing and how you have ways to cope with your circumstances. All of that is factored in. This is obviously not a black and white issue, for lack of a better term, and it's very complex. Mm-hmm. But we got an insight into her direct thoughts and feelings through her diaries and all of these things that she was, compiling that were clearly coming from a place of absolutely some serious mental health issues, because it really it was odd to me because it sounds like what a domestic white terrorist has on their bookshelf.
Exactly. Yes.
So
if this perpetrator had been of any other demographic, we'd be talking about this in a very different way. I
agree, but I also disagree, because what took me to this place is her own diary, where she is talking about her experiences and as a black woman.
Right.
And
which I'm not trying to not validate. I'm sure that I'm positive she experienced systemic racism and discrimination, especially being a woman and a woman of color in a scientific field. Come on, fucking triple threat.
I think all of these things can be true. And
right.
I also, what struck me when you were telling us about her history, camping and being super self-reliant and being out in nature and things like that, that is an environment in which your quote-unquote identity that is placed upon you in your own culture and society gets to go away. So maybe she enjoyed that kind of
some of the
solitude,
escape.
that kind of escapism. And then when she gets back into renting an apartment in Denver or whatever, you're so entrenched back into society that just hit her even more hard, because she had some relief from expectations and identity
I just
politics.
think that the triggering event of her neighbor who happened to be white leaving tools outside or parking their truck outside of her home is not related enough to the trauma of systemic racism for it to really track in a very like clear way. You
Well,
know what I
maybe
mean?
it's not clear to
evidently
you,
in
but it was
her that
clearly,
it was.
yeah, it was clear to her.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean,
Which
that's
could
just
also
the reality of it.
trace back to some mental health issues.
Absolutely.
Again, all of this can be true at the same time.
It's definitely a gray area, but I just felt like it was definitely one of those things where it's like, okay, and we do this with a lot of perpetrators where it's like, all right, where were the failings along the way? You know, like with your guy, it's like, all right, here's the fucking serial killer bingo card.
Right.
Like we're checking off all
He was
of
given
these
a really
boxes.
fucking raw deal as a child.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not
Plus-
trying to ignore any of that.
Right. Plus, clearly, what is going to take you from being pissed off that your neighbor is leaving tools in the street or on the sidewalk to shooting them in the back has a lot more going on than just, I hate white people, right?
Right.
But
Right.
this is clearly a factor from her own words, which, again, I'm not going to read, but they were there. They were presented into evidence. And so I understand where there's a challenge following that line, but this is not an experience we've ever had. So like, we can't say that line doesn't exist. So really what this made me think about is what we talk about frequently about the justice system is like, yes, punishment is part of it, right? But like, we also have to evaluate the why. And like you said, you know, especially Black women are not valued the same way in like the healthcare field and the mental health field. So like what resources were available to her, you know, like what systems came together to fail for this to even be able to fucking happen.
Think about how many like young middle-class white male terrorists fall through the cracks in terms of receiving mental health support that they so clearly need when so many red flags are there. And then just compound that by the fact that this is a woman of color. Like, so she had no hope of getting the services that she needed.
So, you know, at the end of the day, this whole thing is a painful reminder that we do need to like continue the work on dismantling the systems that continue to harm and oppress to the point where white violence creates a foundation for this kind of violence in all the different ways in terms of like not having the resources available, not taking these things seriously, the isolation, the systemic racism, all of it. It's all a factor. And this doesn't condone the violence, but like Malika was pretty triggered, clearly, watching gentrification like take place right next door. She already had written down her thoughts on how much she hated white people. It's just like, it's really tough. This is a super challenging exercise in like recognizing the root causes of some of this behavior, which I feel like we try to get to when we go over really any case where it's like, this is why we start with this person was born at this time. This is what this person's childhood was like. Like our stuff is very curated to start with like the beginning of a perpetrator's circumstances. Because I think that the three of us collectively, that's why we have a background in psych portion. It's like, let's try to unpack this and figure out how and why this could have happened.
And like, that's kind of why I felt weird and squicky just saying the Otis Toole guy who presumably killed Adam Walsh was a drifter.
Right.
I wasn't doing a full case. Like, I felt weird about just, this is this guy, you know?
And also just...
the background does really matter.
Yeah. It's hard to do a bare bones case without doing a full case.
For sure.
Yeah.
But back to this case, like, there's obviously a difference between like recognizing the perils of gentrification and like recognizing how problematic that can be and how difficult it is a topic to deal with. I mean, it's definitely something that like I've had to try to wrestle with morally myself. Being a white person who has like lived in various neighborhoods and like considered buying and everything. And there's a difference between like having a stance on gentrification and like quote unquote like hating white people. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like I just think that this woman had fucking issues. She had this gun in her home, and I just feel so much for the victim's family when like ultimately this guy got shot for like
he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Carrying,
he didn't fucking
carrying tools around. Like it's so horrible.
She had literature and diary entries written that were like approaching an impending race war. So
Yeah,
like this is
like she was going to hurt someone.
Yep.
I don't think anyone's trying to excuse the murder
Right,
or
right,
the
right.
motives
Right.
behind it at all.
Not at all.
We're just
It's-
trying to unpack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an exercise in recognizing the root causes of some of this behavior, and also a staunch reminder of how like dismantling white supremacy is also a means of crime prevention is really what I'm kind of trying to get at. So it's not a simple answer in any way, shape, or form. It's something to sit with. And like, I had a hard time reading about this, you know, because we're all, I hope, doing anti-racism work right now. And to like read some of those diary entries was really hard. And clearly Jency also has had access to some of that information.
Right.
And has, you know, has a similar takeaway. And then you also have to grapple with your own grief for having lost a loved family member who did not, you know, intentionally do any harm, was really just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
a
And
victim.
everyone in this situation is like
It's just a victim.
Exactly. Everyone in this situation is just like a subject of the circumstances. And they're all fucked up and gray and shitty. And it
Right.
just sucks all around. So the trial lasted about a week, and the jury deliberated for 7 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts, because, like, obviously that was going to happen. First-degree murder in Colorado has an automatic sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, though she did file an appeal in 2009, but it was denied, and she is still in prison in a women's correctional facility in Colorado. Her story has been told on Snapped and Deadly Women on Investigation Discovery, but I haven't watched these episodes. And I just wanted to finish it by saying that we're extraordinarily sorry for your loss. Like we keep saying, this whole situation is so tragic and fucked up on like a million levels. And I really wish your family a lot of peace and healing. And I actually think it's pretty brave for you to reach out to a podcast that you enjoy and say like, hey, tell this story. Because that wouldn't always be easy to hear it back in your headphones. So I hope that this could be at least like a little bit of a healing experience for you to share it with us, and our thoughts are with you all the way, because this is like fucking bonkers. So yeah.
For sure. Well, nice work.
Yeah.
And yeah.
One of the harder ones for sure.
Our love is with you, Jency, and special thanks to you this week for choosing this topic, because I really enjoyed it personally.
This was fascinating for sure.
It also
Awesome.
really made me want to watch more America's Most Wanted. I had very wonderful flashbacks of my childhood TV experiences.
Well, let's take this time to go do it. And we just lost Kenyon. So with that, we'll see you next week.